Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's class. We will be working on the lesson Stick to Thick.
Why stick to thick, you may ask? Because Mr. Ash said so. No, not at all. It's because it helps catch early mistakes, it helps see accurate proportions early, and it gives you the freedom to develop from a foundational point. It's a very helpful tool. Now, the two most common type of figure drawings that I see at an early stage are my stick figures and what I like to call loosey-goosey figures, which, if you're starting off with that, we're not too far away from developing it into a real figure drawing, an accurate figure drawing. And so here I'm just giving you an example of going from stick to thick. So right now I'm trying to make sure that my proportions of the figure that I'm working on is accurate. And what I mean by proportions being accurate, I mean I'm talking like the length of the arms compared to the length of the legs and the length of the neck. Now that I'm done with the stick, now I'm going around my stick and making it thick. It's as simple as that. It's kind of like the loosey-goosey figure, but just with a little more definition. Making sure that as the arms taper down to the hands, the arms get thinner, and same with the legs. As the legs taper down to the feet, the legs get thinner. Also, pay close attention to the width of the torso or the stomach. It's a lot thicker than the arms. Now that I've finished my thickness of my figure, now it's time to erase the stick figure because I no longer need it. I'm done with that foundational point. Now my foundational point is the actual thick figure. Once I've developed an accurate thick figure, now what I want to do is start adding in some real detail. And one of the important details of figure is its clothes. Want to make sure that the clothes are hanging off of the body, that it's not they're wearing a skin tight suit like that, Under Armour sweatsuit. No, we don't want it to look like that. We want it to look like the actual clothes are hanging off the body. So you can see that my sleeves are kind of extended off of where the skin are. The collar around the neck is actually beveled off, and you got to pay close attention to those details. I also find students, when they go ahead and do a figure, they really pay a lot of attention to the face, and they do the face first. And I would highly recommend to save that for last. Reason being is because if you do it first and then you find out later on that your proportions are wrong, then you have to erase all of that detail that you just placed in. So save that for last, and then you can really pay close attention to the detail on how it looks. Hey, and look at that, it's a self-portrait of Mr. Ash. What do you know? Now, another mistake that I see when students first start developing stick to thick is that when they go around the stick, they actually keep the same thickness all the way around, from the arm to the body to the legs, and it looks more like a pencil figure rather than an actual human being figure. So you need to really pay close attention to the difference in thicknesses of the human figure. So for example, the arm versus the leg, versus the torso, the actual body. The actual body is the thickest part, and you definitely need that to be thicker than the arm. Now here's a drawing that I wanted to do for you guys. This is a drawing of a human figure that's a little more complex than just someone standing there straight at you. So I decided to do a figure that is falling from the sky, and it's quite complex. His hand is kind of extended back, as though the wind is kind of pulling back, and his legs are kind of bent and behind him. So I wanted to really show you how something that is very complex, how stick to thick works. And the reason being is because, again, it's a good foundational point to see the relationships between lengths and then once you go from stick to thick, then the thickness is where you get the foundational point of the differences between the thicknesses. And then once you get that done, then you can really start putting into detail and focusing on the clothes and the relationships between how the clothes are interacting with the body, and not only just the body but the environment as well. So for example, like this guy right here, his clothes are whipping and waving in the wind because he's falling from the sky. So that is really the example of how stick is the number one foundation, and 2 is thick, and 3 is then really placing in the detail of the clothes. And then once you get done with the clothes and you're happy with how the body has developed, and you're paying really close attention to those final little pieces of proportion, then that's when I move on to the face and really start developing the face and really paying close attention to the detail within the face and the other features that lay on the head. I always save that last just because if I'm happy with everything else, then I can really finish it up with the face rather than forcing myself to have to work around proportions of the head. And I always hate having to erase all the detail of the face that I did first. So that's why I do it in the order that I do it. Same type of concept and same type of thinking with the hands and feet. Hands and feet are parts of the figure that I kind of hold till one of the last points, just because, again, it does take time to do it, and so when you spend so much time on those features at the beginning, and then you find out, oh, my arm's too long, and then now you have to erase the hand, and now you have to redo the hand all over again, and that's just no fun, because a hand is never easy to do. To me, stick to thick is such an important part of my art life, because I find myself using it on almost everything. I use it whenever I'm going to draw a human being. I use it whenever I'm going to draw a cartoon. I use it when I'm going to draw an animal. I even use it when I'm doing bubble letters, any kind of bubble letters, because again, it gives me that foundational shape. It kind of lets me foresee maybe that letter is going to look like. So like a stick figure, you can see what that stick figure is doing before you've started anything, before you've spent really almost any time on it. You can see that the person is either standing there or falling from the sky. So yeah, today's assignment, what I want you to do is I want you to do a self figure and draw yourself from stick to thick. And then after you get done drawing yourself, then go ahead and develop a background around what you had developed. And have fun.